Welcome to the Challenge Podcast, brought to you by Raider Concealment.
Oh, you caught us. Hey, welcome to part 2 of the Challenge Outdoors Podcast, brought to you by Raider Concealment. Again, alongside Brad Frost, David Moore, and our guest for this week, John Browning with Pistol Creek Calls. Again, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And what you think about that new mouth call, David?
I kind of like this new mouth. John's got, what is it, 2 new mouth calls?
Six
New mouth calls. Sorry, I'm playing with 3 of them here. I have a Clinton Phipps signature. This is a 3-reed bat wing. We have a 2.5 reed ghost cut. And then I have a 3-reed combo. And I don't, Scott, you had,
They laid them over there.
There's another bat wing and another combo cut.
Chris Eastrid's signature series is a combo cut, and then we've got the 3-reed V also.
Split V call.
Yeah.
Very good call. So if you're mouth call guys,
Yeah.
Well, that's something
Pistol Creek can help
you've
you
been
out there,
asking
too.
me for.
yeah.
For sure. Well, everybody out there that's watching the podcast and listening to us probably aren't all turkey hunters.
Right.
So if you don't mind, real quick, kind of just tell them a little bit of differences in the different calls and like when you would use them and that type of thing.
Okay, well,
The benefits and drawbacks to each.
types of calls, like how they're built or different.
Well, like
you
you
would
got a
use
box
them.
call, a
Okay.
slate call,
I'm
this
with
call,
you.
the mouth
Scenario
call.
type
Yeah.
thing.
Well, first, I think you need to find the call that you're comfortable with.
Right.
And regardless of whether or not it's the right call to use at the right time, the call you're comfortable with is always the right call to be using. But a box call, more of a traditional call, it's going to have a lot of good volume. Really raspy. You can throw in Jake yelps in there that sometimes do it with a box call. But the biggest thing for the box call for me, and this speaking for me, it's a great locator when you're trying to find that gobble, and you need to get something out there. You can shock him with it, but you're shocking him. Be careful, he may be on the way to you as soon as he gobbles. Where a crow call or something like that, he's just letting you know he's there. But it's great for locating. Y'all were talking earlier about going out west, cutting through the wind, long distances.
So they can hear
That's where a box call. Now there's guys out there that can finish them off with a box call.
I'm
not that guy.
I love to cluck them.
You know, I still lean to my pot calls and the mouth calls, but that's why you would use a box call. Now, a pot call is just the call that I'm the most comfortable with.
Me too.
And I like the way I can tone it down, keep it really soft if I want to, if he's up close, or I can crank it up and get pretty loud.
It's the most realistic
pretty
sounding
loud
to me too.
A lot of times you got to remember when you're doing that, you're actually telling the bird, "Hang on, big boy, I'm on my way." And what you want to say is,
Come to me.
"I'm over here feeling pretty sexy. Why don't you come over here?" And to get soft with them, what I call, everybody calls contentment calls. The trough call comes in good for that. Some of the double-sided calls that we do that I didn't bring down here are great.
Duplex,
on the back. Yeah, the
my favorite
duplex,
call.
the horseshoe, the rusty barrels, all those. They're really good for the soft contentment stuff. And that's just basically her saying, "I'm good right here. I'm good doing what I'm doing right now." And guys, I need, turkey calls are important, but probably sometimes the best turkey call is to lay it down
Yeah.
And be
and
quiet.
scratching the leaves.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
There's a lot of
that kills a
scenarios.
lot of birds.
So you go in the woods, it's dark still. You can hit an owl call before it gets daylight. And those have been real good for us in the past. And then you go to other parts of the country and they won't touch them.
All right.
They want a crow call.
Yeah, and then so you wait till
Coyote.
crack of day, you can go to your crow call. And then if that don't, now a lot of times if you can get one roosted and get in close, a lot of times the only thing you got to do is hit them with a few tree lips.
Tree lips.
Tree lips.
Tree yelps.
There you go. Thank you. And maybe
The hat flap.
with your
Yeah.
hat. I can't tell you how, but that goes back to roosting them the day before, knowing where they're at, game planning, maybe with your OnX app,
Well-
your path in there.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do.
That's woodsmanship.
Yeah,
which a lot
but
of people don't have anymore.
you just hit on what I was going to say, David. Killing a turkey is 95% woodsmanship, 5% calls.
Yeah.
And that comes from a guy that's trying to sell you turkey calls. But that's the truth. Now, I will say that there are times when you get all that stuff right, yes.
You still don't
But you go up to the mountains in North Georgia, and you've got him roosted on this ridge, and I know this all too well.
Don't
Well,
mean
been
he
to
can't
your
come over
place,
your
yeah, that's
ridge.
some steep country.
He's gonna pitch off that limb, but I promise you, he will not land on the ridge he's on. And it's a 50-50 shot. Is he going to that ridge or is
Yeah.
he going to that ridge?
Yeah.
Right.
And so it's not always that easy. But overcalling, I think, is, especially for young hunters, is their biggest mistake. And I could have probably killed a lot more birds than I have, but I
you
just
wanna
love
hear- you
I
wanna
just
hear 'em
love
gobble.
hearing them gobble.
I mean,
I
that's
don't
the fun
care.
part.
I just want to hear them gobble.
That
just wanna hear-
saves
I'm
a turkey's life. This saves a turkey's
Yeah.
life, and the camera.
Camera saves turkey.
The camera has
Yeah, definitely.
saved many turkeys.
Many turkeys.
So.
Well, now might be a good time too to talk about, for those that don't know, in nature we're doing the
We're
opposite.
reversing. Yeah,
Yeah, we're
reversing
trying to
nature.
call the gobbler to the hen.
Yeah, I heard somebody put it this way, and I don't remember who it was, but they said it this way. So you're trying to make a gobbler do something his daddy always told him never to do.
Right.
And
Good way to put it.
so I think turkey hunting is the most exciting thing I do. And it's part of it's because of the challenge, part of it's because of the vocalization. I've heard people who have a lot more experience with elk hunting than I am
Right.
talk about how elk hunting's very
ultimate,
similar.
yeah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, but I say, yeah, but that elk is going to that cow. That bull's
Right.
going to. A gobbler's not. He's going to go out there to his strut zone and sit there and strut and say, "Come to me, ladies."
Yeah.
You know, and so you've made him do, especially when you end up killing one of those just super hooked up 4-year-olds. You're making him do something
Against
that
nature.
he knows better than to
Yeah.
do.
And there's you can't cross, call them across a creek,
Right.
across a road, a
Under a
barbed wire
fence.
fence, down a hill. Every turkey's different.
Right.
Now, you
can
want to
do all
go
that.
in there and stack if you can get on the other side of that fence,
Get
do
the high
it.
ground.
If you can get up the hill level with him or above him,
Mm-hmm.
do it. If you can get across the creek, do it. At least get to the creek where you can shoot over the creek and shoot through the barbed wire fence. You don't want to.
If it's on your property.
Right. You don't want to.
If it's on your property.
Yeah, you don't want to be sitting 60 yards from the barbed wire fence when you could have sat right up there on it.
Well, and everybody's got the one story. Oh, well, I've caught a bird across a creek. I've caught a bird through a fence. Yeah, but it was rare.
Right.
Generally, coming from the mountains, you had to have the high ground.
Yeah.
People in Florida told me, "What do you mean high ground?" Well, if you're not above the bird,
Yeah,
sorry,
they don't
he's
know.
not coming downhill.
Those
to
are
you.
flatlanders. Out
They've
in the Midwest
had an
there.
experience.
There's
like
always
that.
an exception to the rules, but the one rule I live by is the master in the woods. A good buddy of mine told me that this weekend. The master in the turkey woods is the turkey.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he usually wins.
More
but-
times than not. He knows
Yeah.
the terrain. No matter how many times we walked it, he knows where he likes to walk, where he likes to
and
travel.
with turkey, what makes turkey hunting so special though is if you can get one, what I call play the game. Not that you heard one in the distance, but he responded to you. Or maybe you're just on the periphery and you hear it going on. It's a win. You're excited.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. I think that's why I like turkey hunting so much, because my success rate is so much higher than my kill rate is.
Oh, yeah.
In turkey hunting.
Well, we talk about it all the time. If you judge a hunt as being successful, if you kill something, you're hunting for the wrong reasons.
Right.
That's just
Priorities.
flat out. You're going to be disappointed more times than
Well,
not.
and a butterball is still a lot less expensive than killing a turkey.
No doubt.
Well, when it does come together, it just makes it that much more special because you realize how much effort and time you've put into doing that. Scott and I have hunted, fortunately, in about every terrain imaginable, and you're in, like I said, in the mountains out west or on huge fields, and you're walking miles and miles and crossing creeks and climbing hills, and then he gives you the slip. It's easy to get discouraged, but once it happens, man, it's
And then getting it
it's
on
nothing
film.
like it.
We probably do 2, 3, maybe 4 turkey shows a year because it is a challenge. And when you can get all that stuff to come together, man, you want to share it with people.
Well, you do, but you also, and we have a support group that the Creek Bank, we all call each other regularly, and a lot of times it's foul language and the swearing that we're never
Foul language.
Never
ready-
for deer hunting, but boy, get me on a turkey.
I don't understand what I did wrong, but you got to remember, and usually that's Sunday afternoons after everybody's done hunting. And but yeah, we sit there and console each other, provide therapy for each other, and go, yeah, but I'd have done the same thing, but he just beat you this weekend.
Yeah.
You know,
Try him next weekend.
Yeah, try
it's
him
turkey
again.
hunting.
I,
It's gotta
you
be
know, I
foul
always tell
language,
you know, we all cut our teeth, you know, hunting, you know, what I call those hard-headed Easterns. They got PhDs.
Yeah.
That's why we go out west into Texas.
Every now and you got to get away from
Yeah,
here.
we got to get away from
make
these
it-
educated
Is
turkeys.
everything in Georgia harder to kill?
Yeah, it
Seems
is.
like
I mean,
it,
Yeah, I think so.
Perfect example. I mean, the last 3 birds that I've killed in Georgia on my family farm have been the shortest. I was on that bird 2 hours. The other 2 were 3-hour hunts on the same bird. Probably did not kill them until the 3rd setup. And that's part of that's the woodsmanship, but that's part of the game. We're playing the game and the challenge. I mean, that's the hunts. Yeah, you love them when they fly down and they run right into you, and it's over in 10 minutes. But
I got
it's
a
that
perfect
2 or 3 hour hunt where you're setting up on that bird and you're in the game. And
I want that bird. You know what's that line
mile
from that movie? You had me at hello.
Yeah.
I've always sat there and said, why can't this bird just be like, you had me at hello? Come running in.
And just get
but
shot.
that's never what it is.
That's,
Brad and I
that's
had
the
a-
way it works in Georgia most of the time.
Brad and I had a great little turkey tour. You know, we went to Florida, then we went to Kansas, shot birds there, went to Wyoming, shot birds there. I mean, you know, they're not that they're easy, but they're
more.
less
They do what they're
difficult.
supposed to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, they act different. And then we got invited by our friends at Deer Crossing Archery to come to Ohio and hunt there. And we've never, you know, I want to at least, not whether I kill, I want to at least hunt turkeys in every state. I don't have to kill them, but we got invited there, never hunted in Ohio. And, you know, we're thinking, man, this is going to be pretty sweet. You know, it's going to be like Kansas, And so I'd been Googling the guy's address. Well, he did live in farm country, but where we were hunting, it was like
Like
North
where you were in
Georgia.
North Georgia. It was
We pulled in there, and I'm like, man, we got 3 days to kill. This is going to be, Brad's like, I think I'll wait on buying a
gonna be
license.
the
Let you get one first. And it was my birthday the next day, so, you know, it made
Straight up,
sense.
straight down.
Yeah, we got out there and started walking, man, and there was 2 times I was like, we're gonna hunt this afternoon, and then we're heading home. And we've been gone for 15, 16 days. It's been a while.
2 weeks.
And then we went hunting that afternoon, and I said, we're just gonna get up and go next morning. We're gonna head home, you know. But it's always like, except if we roost a bird.
Roost a
Right.
bird.
So lo and behold, this bird walks through with about 6 or 8 hens, and his beard was laying so tight to his chest. I couldn't figure out which one he was. So he gets by us, and I'm still calling, thinking he's out in front of us, you know, and he gobbles behind us. I'm like, oh my goodness.
I actually saw him fly up, so we knew exactly where
Yeah,
he was
he could
at.
film him on the limb, fly
what
up.
tree he
And
was in.
so we took our own X and marked us little spots. We'd go and stop. You know, we figure if it was good going out, it ought to be good coming in. So we marked our spots. So in the dark, we went back to those same spots. But we got back to camp that day or that night, and I told Brad, I said, man, we can't leave that bird sitting on that limb. He said, oh no, this is the whole reason we came turkey hunting, you know.
right.
But all we did then was a few tree lips to him. Lips? No, I meant to
He's
say
being
that.
funny this time.
So we gave him a few tree yips, and I did the fly down, and I had stationed one of the guys that invited us over the hill, because my fear is he was going to fly down on that lip of that ridge, look for something, didn't see it, and then drop over
Back
before
to
he
his
got in
strip zone.
range.
And he had
And-
hens with him.
Yeah, he had hens with him. So we put Chase down below us, and I was going to do a cackle. What was I going to? I was going to do so.
Fly down?
When he heard the fly down, he was supposed to take over. So again, after we talked to him for a little while, you could tell he was getting antsy on that limb, you know, back and forth,
could see
spinning
all this.
around. Yeah, he'd look this way, look that way, and then so I did the fly down when Brad told me he was looking our way, you know, and man, he looked out there and gobbled. He couldn't see me, and then Chase took over. And he did, man. He strutted that line. And Chase waited a little too long to start calling because I was starting to freak out. I thought I was going to have to call again. And then it's like,
Right.
it messes you up because ought to be able to see a turkey now.
Yeah.
But he picked it up just in time, man, and he walked out and opened, and it probably wasn't 20 minutes after legal light we had him.
10 minutes after legal
Yeah,
light.
it was just bright enough to see him in the camera.
But and those perfect mornings happen just enough that you feel like maybe it'll be a perfect morning this morning. You know, maybe
keeps
it'll
you
be
going.
Usually I'm like David though. 3 hours later, I'm throwing my head net down, going, I got to get something to eat. You know, around here they gobble when you got that high pressure, nice bluebird spring day. They're gonna gobble. But man, when it's pouring rain and thundering outside, you can kill them.
Yeah.
You know, you can kill them.
Get away with a lot of stuff.
They
They'll
just-
gobble at the thunder too. But let's kind of change gears. I think we've talked enough scenarios and stuff, and I'm sure we'll get back into that. But David and I have been kicking around, just he and I talking, and I want to get you guys' opinion on it. But over the last several years where we hunt here in Georgia, the turkey numbers just have not been there.
Way down.
Are you seeing that where you're at?
Yeah, I'm seeing pockets of
Dead areas?
not dead, but I don't hunt a large area in Georgia. But I think it's consensus the numbers are down.
Yeah.
I think there's a bunch of different reasons for that.
So how long are we going to stay? Are y'all cool with a 3-bird limit still?
I think and have for some time that it should have never moved from a 2-bird limit. And
I'm with you.
This is the
agree,
reason
2-bird
why.
limit.
And you can look at the data, and it shows that between the 2-bird and the 3-bird limit, that there's not a huge difference in harvest numbers in Georgia. But I do know this. The majority of that true 10th Legion turkey hunter in Georgia, we're trying to tag out.
Right.
And sometimes we're able to, sometimes we're not. But there's a large majority of us that they're probably going to be real close to tagging out. Jason Dockery, y'all know him. He's got him and his 4 boys, and they're ethical. They move around. They don't overhunt areas. They're good stewards of it. But they're able to and a family of 4 tagging out in Georgia, that's 12 birds.
Exactly.
And so I think if it just common sense, if you were to go back to 2 birds, a third of those 10th Legion birds that are killed are going to be alive next year. I know the data doesn't show a huge difference between 2 birds and 3 birds, but I think it's
common
a difference
sense
now.
has to come into play.
Now, the other thing I will say, in defense of the turkey numbers, and I'm going to ruffle some feathers here.
Well, we're going to do that with 2-bird
Get
limit.
the corn off the ground. That's what's killing our birds.
Yeah.
The aflatoxins, I can't talk,
Right.
from molded corn is what's decimating. It's not the coyotes. In fact, there's data that shows any area that has a high population of turkeys will have a high population of predators, not nest predators, coyotes and such. But this legalizing corn, molding corn on the ground, and when does everybody go put their corn out? Into August, 1st of September. An adult turkey is not going to be as susceptible to it, but the poults are. Well, when are poults really first starting to bug and do everything? August and September. We got piles of molded corn on the ground, and we're wiping out all of our turkey recruitment. That's our problem.
That's a good point. Jake's is, that's your bird
future.
your future bird.
Yeah.
That's the 2-year-old you're going to kill the next year. And that's what I've just not been seeing the Jakes like I used to see either.
Well-
Talk about not seeing birds, but not seeing Jakes.
I'm seeing a lot of Jakes on our particular Pistol Creek property.
I did last year for the first time, which means this year should be good.
Right, and I think in Georgia we're also we experienced 3 poor hatches before the last 3 years, and in the last 3 years, in my opinion, and I don't have data to go on it, but I'm seeing that we've had very nice, good hatches.
Well, the springs
so
have been
this
better.
dialogue got started after about 3 years of poor hatches. Now I'm not going to blame the whole issue on the 3 hatches. I think there's definitely as stewards of my good friend Donald Jarrett told me this weekend. I'm not going to say it. He's an author and all lyrical and brilliant.
Big words, fancy
Yeah, that
stuff,
guy.
yeah.
He said it this way, and I'm not going to get it right. We haven't really inherited this lifestyle from our fathers. We've borrowed it from our children. So we've got to be stewards of what we're doing. And I think as conservationists, hunters and fishermen, we're the first conservationists. We're the only ones that really ever made an impact for the good for conservation.
Right.
I think we've always got to be really, really sensitive to any changes in numbers of the animals we're harvesting. I think Georgia still has a huntable population of turkeys. I believe the Southeast still has a huntable population of turkeys. I know this, and I don't know why, but since 1990 to 96, I'm going to call the glory years, birds are not vocal like that anymore. I don't hear the fly down cackle like I used to. I don't hear the gobble like I used to. And that was just after the big real boom in numbers that started really exponentially growing around the 70s. So I don't know if it had to do with a pecking order that they were trying to figure out or what, but I know that birds are not as vocal. I know I don't hear as many gobbles as I did back then. And that's what I'm after. It's not about how many hens I hear.
Gobble. Yeah. Right.
I think there's been a change in that so a lot of people, there's just no turkeys. Well, yeah, they are. There's more turkeys than you think. You're not hearing them like you used to.
Well, for years and years, Georgia has claimed more turkey numbers than Kansas. We go to Kansas every year, and you can't get me and Brad to believe that, only because you can see them. Mm-hmm. And you know they're not gobbling because you're calling to them. So here in Georgia, you call, they're not gobbling, you not see them. Next thing you're hunting is a biscuit. Mm-hmm. Up in Kansas, you're going to ride around until you see them because you're going to see them, you're going to find them.
In those fields.
Well, what do you think about the season dates?
Okay, I think that's a huge area. And again,
I don't like those.
I'm a cabinet maker that makes turkey calls and has an opinion. I don't know that it's the right one, but
that's the beauty of opinion.
I think if we could,
we all have one.
Whether we go to a 2-bird harvest or we go to a 3-bird harvest, if we could manipulate to the dates where the majority of the hens have been bred before we're killing the gobblers,
right?
The hunter success is going to be better because, man, early season's tough sometimes. How it works
because they're henned up,
But I'm all for. I think at that point, if the hens are bred, then we've got a good, as many hens as possible are bred. We've got a good chance at recruitment for the following year.
Right.
I personally try not to shoot jakes. I shot a jake this year. It was a full fan jake though. But there's a lot of data that shows that killing a jake has no, and people thought it has to. It has to.
They say it has no bearing. I can't believe that.
But if you look at the data, it has no bearing, and that's due to something called compensatory predation. Infant mortality in all male animals is higher.
Right.
So the chance of that jake making it, now, it makes common sense. He doesn't have a chance at all if I kill him right now.
Right.
And that's why I don't shoot jakes.
Right.
But I do think the dialogue gets turned to don't kill jakes and we'll have more birds, and that's not true. The data shows that whether we kill jakes or not, we're going to have the same amount of birds next year due to compensatory predation. And that's going to be, that jake's probably not going to make it anyways. So what do we do to make sure the jake makes it? And then the harvest of jake will have an effect. Let's stop putting corn on the ground. Because that's what's killing them. Now, I don't know enough about it, but there's also a debate about the chicken manure on the fields.
Yeah. Now,
it goes both ways on that one, and I don't know enough to know
I've had farmers tell me, talking about nest predators, you got your coons and so forth.
Well, who coon hunts anymore?
Wild
no, well, that's the thing. Nobody
coon hunts anymore.
I think it's worse about the nest and losing them after they're born and coats and bobcats. I think it's more on the nest, and your nest predators are worse.
Right.
But I've had a lot of farmers tell me it's the fire ants.
Well, fire ants will do it.
But because I don't know if it was several years ago, they could spray their fields for fire ants, and the government came in and said you can't spray for that anymore. So they got fire ants are everywhere, and people don't think about a fire ant being that bad, but they will destroy a hen nest.
And you don't have the trappers that we used to have either.
I mean,
trapping cells.
The coyote is our trapper. In fact, when the release of the coyote happened, it was because of this purpose. It was because of the data that they have. And I was the guy for years and years and years saying, "What kind of idiot released a coyote?" But everybody's seen one kill a fawn. Everybody's seen one with a turkey in its mouth. But the truth is, they're very poor predators on deer and turkeys. But they wipe out coons and possums, and so that's why I said what I said earlier about populations being directly proportional. High population of turkeys is due to a high population of coyotes.
Everything has their place, but they need to be in check. But how do you keep possum, coon? You know, you need to hunt them or trap them, and
Right.
like you just said,
Nobody
who's
hunts
coon
them
hunting?
anymore.
Nobody's coon
The
hunting
trapping
anymore.
numbers are falling off. The trapping supplies and sales, I mean, they're way down. I mean, I've done a little bit of it, but I mean, David's done
I do.
a handful with just coon traps. You know,
Well, I
That
have
trap
seen I have seen a resurgence, or maybe I've just become in a proximity with other trappers. But I've been amazed at the amount of people who really do it. There's a good friend of ours that I've met through Pistol Creek, and he's a PE teacher in Hall County, and not Jason Dockery. This is a friend of his, but and he does it all the time, and he
It's a lot of fun.
also teaches the kids at school. You
How to do
know,
it.
to the extent he's allowed to, teaches them how to do it. I don't. It's not a passion I have, but I realize it's a necessity. We
What-
need to be able to do.
Well, that's a
What
lot of
scares
fun
me
if you've ever
is
done it.
I've read that California's now said trapping completely is
Well,
illegal.
that's California.
Yeah, California.
But
just-
what's scary is that's the first
They don't
state.
cut down trees either, and they wonder
Right.
why.
Yeah, I wonder why they
Hey,
have
we'll-
forest. Yeah.
But like I said, that's the first state. But if,
No
if
timber
that trend
management.
continues, they don't realize the fallout by doing that. They don't realize the farmers that those
Well,
animals are now, destroy
We
their
can get
crops.
into wolves and all that. And that's
Well, I was going to say that
for another day.
as far as what you originally asked me, I think it's something that we definitely need to look at. We need to figure out.
Season dates, and they
Well,
need
it's
to be able to.
it's been what it has for so many years. I think you hit it, nail on the head. It's time to look at it again.
I've been, I'm with you. I think we need to go back to a 2-bird limit.
Yeah.
I have no, I have no
think
issue with that.
I wouldn't bat an eye, 2-bird limit, and start the season later. And in all honesty, we've got one of the longest turkey seasons
we do.
in
Yeah.
the
We
do.
nation.
Yep.
So maybe don't. South Carolina just did it. They bumped theirs last year. This moved up a week, so they're a little bit shorter than what they
Yeah,
were.
we don't.
And you
I
can
mean,
only
we go to
kill-
mid-May,
Yeah.
and who hunts the last 2 weeks of May here?
I do,
It's miserable.
but that's because it's the season.
I almost would
season,
rather
but-
see it be moved up.
Yeah, but
a week.
it's hot, and it's and your steaks are out
I
then.
think you push it forward 2 weeks, but then there comes in the problem for the DNR, because when the birds at Pistol Creek are on fire, they're not at North Georgia, and they're
Yeah.
almost finished in South Georgia.
Right.
So how do you allow
Zones,
everybody
you
to
could
do it?
zones. I mean, Florida, a lot of states
Well,
break it
exactly.
up
That's
into
how-
zones.
that's how you
Florida,
do it.
you got south and
Well, we
got
had 2
different
zones
dates.
in Georgia for years on
Yeah,
deer.
with deer. And still,
Well, guys, there's a lot of opinions on this. We'd love to hear yours. Make some comments
and we'll be
down
more
below.
than happy to answer those.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hot topic, and we're going to have another podcast, and we're going to get into deer because, I mean, we got some opinions on that too. But hey, I think it was a great conversation. Just throw some stuff out there. Let's talk about it. But I think it is time to talk about the seasons and the number of birds that we, bag limits. It's been long enough.
Yeah.
Let's sit down and look at it again. So, guys, thank you for watching another edition of the Challenge Outdoors podcast, brought to you by Raider Concealment. Make sure you ring that bell and subscribe for us.
Hey guys, Brad Frost from Raider Concealment, and I'd like to encourage everyone to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you hit the like button and also ring the notification bell so that you'll get all the updates for our upcoming videos.